Daily Faceoff came in with our top 10 New York Rangers prospects. And today we're going to be taking a look at that, kind of giving you guys my thoughts on who should be higher, who should be lower. And these rankings are done by Steven Ellis. So if you want to check that out, you can. I'll have this linked in the description if you want to get a good in-depth read on what they're saying. But giving you guys my thoughts here on who should be higher, who should be lower. And if you want to check out some of these more prospects in depth, I have pretty much all these prospects. I have a video specifically giving you guys a scouting report on each of these guys already up on the channel in a playlist. So definitely go check that out. But getting the list here at number 10, we have the third round pick from this year, number 90 overall, Drew Fortescue. Now, this guy is a very solid kind of two-way defender, but definitely more defensive, kind of like a Braden Schneider in that sense, where he's kind of a two-way defender, but definitely more defensive than offensive. You know, Drew is a pretty strong guy, definitely has more muscle, but overall is already a pretty strong guy, a fairly big body, good hitter. Overall, just a really solid, sound defensive defenseman, but definitely has a bit of a two-way game to him as well, and a bit of underrated two-way game as well. I think some people kind of underrate his offensive game, and we definitely could see it this year, where he's committed to Boston College alongside another New York Rangers prospect. Could see him take a bit of a step forward offensively because he did have a pretty good season offensively last year. We definitely could see him take another step this year. And there's also a decent chance that we could see him play for Team USA at the U20 World Juniors alongside a fellow teammate and fellow Boston College teammate and fellow U.S. National Development Program teammate Gabe Perreault was the first rounder of this year's draft. So we could see two New York Rangers prospects on Team USA at the World Juniors this year, but for sure Gabe Perreault, but we definitely could see Drew Fortescue had a pretty good World Junior showcase with Team USA, obviously. Coming in number 9, though, we have Matthew Robertson. This guy is 22 years old, played the last couple of years with the Hartford Wolfpack in the AHL, a former second-round pick back in 2019, a left-handed defenseman. There's 4 guys kind of fighting for that 6D-man spot alongside Braden Schneider on that third D pair, and Matthew Robertson is one of those guys. I think more than likely he will be in the AHL to start the year and probably be one of the top D-men there. But it's kind of down to Zach Jones, Robertson, Harper, and Eric Gustafson, the new UFA guy we signed this offseason. So he's going to have a shot at making the NHL. More than likely, though, he'll start in the AHL, but we definitely could see him at some point this year make his NHL debut because he is a really solid 6'4", two-way defender, has a pretty solid offensive game, really solid defensively. Overall, though, can lay the body, can move the puck around as well. So definitely I got to keep an eye on moving forward, and definitely could be an NHL impact piece as soon as this season. We definitely could see that, but definitely keep an eye on him in the NHL preseason because he's probably going to have a pretty big impact there. Next up we have is number 8, we have Dylan Grand, the only goalie to make this list. No surprise. Dylan Grand is the clear top goalie prospect currently in the system. Had a bit of an up and down year last year. Had a couple games where he looked absolutely amazing. Had a couple where he looked terrible. But in 8 games this year with the Hartford Wolfpack, he had a really good 8-game playoff run with this team. Had a .935 save percentage in those 8 games, having 2 shutouts. So in the playoffs, he looked absolutely amazing. And I think in 2024, 2025, not this season coming up, but the next one after that, we will see Dylan Grand finally take over in the NHL as that backup to Igor Shesterkin. He's only 21 years old still, so still pretty young. A former 4th-round pick, number 103, back in the 2020 draft. So we definitely could see Dylan Grand eventually take that step to the NHL level. And I would imagine he'll be the starter this year in the AHL. And we definitely will see him probably as that third goalie in case of any injuries or call-ups needed. We definitely will probably see Dylan Grand get the move up, I would imagine. Take a look at number 7 here, though. We have is Brett Berard. Pretty solid spot there. I think I'd probably switch Grand up over him, but one spot here and there isn't too big of a deal. He's a left winger, though, 20 years old, will play in Hartford this year. He's a former 5th-round pick back in the 2020 draft. Definitely looks like a steal so far, but had a pretty big drop-off from the previous year back in 2021 and 2022 compared to last season. He had definitely had a drop-off in the point total, but hopefully we can see him kind of refine his game. But he's definitely a small guy at 5'9", but has a good motor, has a bit of Brad Marchand to him, kind of piss you off, be that kind of little rat out there. He'll hit you, play a bit bigger than his actual size, but overall, solid two-way game, nothing crazy, but definitely could one day be an absolutely fantastic kind of 4th line, 3rd line kind of energy, buzzing around up there, hitting guys, but definitely won't have the upside of a Brad Marchand, but kind of has that rest of that kind of game that Brad Marchand does just to kind of piss you off, that rat kind of play. He definitely has a bit of that in him. Taking a look at number 6, though, we have is Bryce McConnell-Barker. I think he should be a bit higher here. I'm a huge fan of BMB. Bryce McConnell-Barker, he's a center, 19 years old, was drafted in the 3rd round back in the 2022 draft, number 97 overall. I got to watch him in person this year against the Peterborough Petes. And he plays for the Sioux Greyhounds. They had an awful team last year. It was one of the worst teams in the entire OHL. They're going to be a lot better this year, but he was drafted as a two-way forward, and his offensive game just absolutely rocketed up this past season. He was absolutely fantastic. Really tried to carry that horrible Sioux Greyhounds team. They should be a lot better this year. Had a couple draft picks this year as well. So they definitely should be a much better team. And hopefully we can see Bryce McConnell-Barker takes an even bigger steps forward. But he is known for his defensive game, and his offensive game really took a big step forward this year. He's really great on faceoffs, and overall could be a very good middle six two-way center one day. Worst case scenario is probably a fourth line penalty killing kind of guy. He definitely has a pretty decent upside, but also a pretty high floor with his two-way game is definitely being quite solid. Number 5 here, we have Adam Sikora, left winger, still only 18 years old, turning 19 pretty soon though, but he's a 2022 second round pick, number 63 overall. He's still quite young, a Slovakian prospect, had a pretty good year last year in the top Slovakian league, a career high 21 points, was not bad at all against the top men in the Slovakian league over there. Sikora had a great year though. He will start the year in Hartford and hopefully can have a pretty big year playing alongside a lot of other really great prospects in Hartford this year. If you're a Rangers fan, I would definitely try and watch a couple Hartford games because that team is going to be absolutely loaded with talent, but he's a very good Slovakian prospect. He's overall, he'll be on the U20 Slovakian World Junior team as well, so you get to watch him there, but overall, a very solid two-way player. Doesn't have the highest upside in the world, but I think he can definitely be a kind of third, maybe second liner, but maybe more of a third liner, but has the potential to be a second liner as well. Just a really solid two-way game. Will be a penalty killer, I'm sure, the next level, and definitely just plays an overall great game of hockey. Number 4, we have Zach Jones. Obviously, a pretty solid player. Will be fighting for that 6 D-man spot alongside Braden Schneider. We have seen him play alongside him before. Former third-round pick back in the 2019 draft, number 68 overall. He's played the last couple of years with the Hartford Wolfpack, and I definitely think that he's going to have a big year this year. This could be the year when we finally see him break into the NHL and actually stick with the NHL team for most of the year. We could see it happen. We might not. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but definitely has an absolutely fantastic offensive game. Can be that power play quarterback on PP2. Obviously, Foxy being on PP1, but definitely he'll be that guy, I'm sure, if he makes the Rangers on power play 2 quarterback in that. I'm sure he has an absolutely fantastic offensive game. Defensive game definitely needs to get better, but still not a complete liability, which is good to see. Number 3, we have another guy who I'm absolutely a huge fan of, Will Cooley. This guy, I think at worst case scenario, will be an amazing fourth liner, like literally the worst possible thing to happen. I think he'll be a fourth liner he's just a kind of a really great overall player. Good two-way game. He'll hit, he'll fight, he can score, he can play make, he can literally do everything. He doesn't have one thing necessarily that is absolutely amazing about his game, but for his size, a big power forward kind of guy, pretty skilled, good skater. I could definitely see him being a really solid middle six kind of guy one day. Third liner, second liner, fourth liner, I think that's kind of something where he's going to be, but definitely a middle six guy is definitely within reach. He can definitely be a 40, 60, maybe even point guy, playing a good two-way game. But overall, he's tough, he's physical, and that is what you want to see out of some guys. Definitely could be a huge piece on this team as soon as this year, but most likely will start with Hartford Wolfpack, but definitely could get called up like we saw him do last season as well. At the number 2 spot here, we have Brennan Othmann. You can go either way. I think Gabe Perreault or Brennan Othmann, a 1 or 2. It doesn't really matter. I think they're both fairly even kind of prospects. I think Othmann has the higher floor, like much higher floor, but I do think that, Gabe Perreault probably has a bit of a higher ceiling, not crazy much higher, but I think a bit higher ceiling than Othmann, but overall I would kind of probably give the edge to Othmann because of how much higher his floor is, but you can go either way, really, let's be honest here. Othmann, a left winger, 20 years old, played for the Peterborough Petes, led this team to an OHL championship. I got to go to Game 6 when they won the OHL championship. It was a ton of fun to watch. I've watched a crap ton of Brennan Othmann games this year. I'm a huge Petes fan, so it was a ton of fun to watch. He had an absolutely fantastic year and really rounded out his overall game as well. In previous years with the Flint Firebirds, more of an offensive kind of guy. Didn't worry about his defensive game too much, but he really, reined in his game and really smartened up a bit more and just kind of played a much better two-way game this past season with the Peterborough Petes, and overall really showed that he can be a very dominant two-way player while also being a great scorer, where he led the Peterborough Petes in scoring on that OHL championship run and also led the team in scoring in the Memorial Cup finals as well. So he was absolutely fantastic this year. You guys know about him. If you guys want to check out more about him, definitely go check out my scouting report video on him and all the other prospects in this video. Taking a look at number 1, though, we know who it is. It is Gabe Perreault, the 18-year-old first-round pick from this year's draft, number 23 overall. Absolute steal he is. Him and Othmann, Gabe Perreault and Othmann, are both in NHL Network's top 50 prospects. So you want to check that video, you definitely can. It's up on the channel. It was up on the channel yesterday, so go check that out. But Gabe Perreault is absolutely fantastic. He's a left wing, 18 years old, Boston College commit alongside another Rangers prospect from the 2023 draft, Drew Fortescue. But this guy will 100% make Team USA U20 World Junior Team. I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't. But he's going to make that team, and he has an absolutely super high ceiling. He broke multiple records, points, and assist record with that national development program, beating guys like Jack Hughes and Will Smith from this year's draft, a couple of those guys from this year's draft, Jack Hughes, Matthews, those kind of guys. He's beat all those guys' records. Absolutely amazing. And it truly is amazing to see what he did this year. And he definitely will have a huge impact on this team moving forward, but not for a couple of years. So I think he's going to spend at least a bare minimum of 2 seasons with Boston College before he comes over and plays some pro hockey. But definitely, it'll be good for his development. Play 2-3 years maybe over with Boston College. It's going to be a good program there. And he can definitely stick around with his teammate, Drew Fortescue, as well, who eventually hopefully make a pretty solid impact on Team